Before we begin this review, I would just like to make note of the fact that this is all made up. Doctor Who is all fictional. It has been making things up right from the very start. That first regeneration, the whole concept of that was never planned from the beginning. That was never built into the nature of the show. It was just pulled out of the creators, you know. And so,
Domain.
yeah, I can't put any naughty words in just yet. We're a bit too early in the video. But, with that whole précis aside, we have a new introduction to the Doctor Who universe, which I'm sure everyone has been talking about. It'll come up in so many reviews. So it's the elephant in the room. Might as well talk about it first. Bigeneration.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that that's something totally expected because there was sadly a lot of leaks, but nevertheless still shocking to see it happen. And it's a new concept. Like Russell said himself in I don't know whether it was the behind the scenes video or Doctor Who Unleashed, but he said fans are going to be totally normal about that, as they are every time something new is introduced to their favourite show.
Yeah.
Before maniacally laughing. He knows what he's doing, and we love him for it. But I think it's important to remember that in the context of when regeneration first happened, how viewers must have felt then. Now we're getting bigeneration. Again, both just inventions of the writers in those particular moments in order to keep the show going in one way or another. They both got different meanings behind them. This certainly does have some thematic weight to it, which we'll get into. But I just think, it's worth maybe putting the pitchforks down a little bit on at least the concept. Because, Doctor Who doesn't have to be set in stone. It's not like the things that were done during the first few years of the show suddenly have to be stuck to, and then it's this untouchable monolith that now just has to carry on in the same way. It always needs to change and adapt. But at the same time, I think it's fair to critique some of those changes and adaptations and said execution of them, because I do have some issues here. How about you?
I think I'm on the same page as you. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
It's more of what it does to sort of the wider scope and how, for me, it's made the universe just that ever so bit smaller.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it made the universe feel smaller for me, but I certainly say I worry about some of the implications of it, particularly in the way that it was done. Because obviously Tennant still stayed, and then they pulled and Shooty came out of him, which makes the Doctor that we are now following feel like an
imposter.
Yeah, which he shouldn't do.
No.
And it's no reflection on Shooty's acting at all. And I think he does stand shoulder to shoulder with Tennant very well. But at the same time, just the fact that Tennant is still there and, ends off the episode still being there. Even both got their own TARDISes as well.
But I felt more interested in Tennant's story than Shooty's story.
Yeah. Even though Tennant's is kind of an ending.
Yeah.
Because, with Doctor Who, even in the episode you see the different companions dying, but they lived on. Well, that's all right then. We see different kinds of endings there. And so it's almost unusual for us to see a happy ending for these characters. But nevertheless, it is meant to be seen as an ending. But I think at the same time, you can't help but think they are still out there.
Yeah.
Why couldn't the show be following them? And it shouldn't. It should be moving forwards. And I'm glad that it is with Shooty. But at the same time, knowing that that's there, it sort of eats away at your mind in the background a bit, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
But we've had huge changes like this before that we've then just shrugged off, moved on from. As soon as next episode rolls around, we sort of push it to one side and we enjoy it. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case. Like once Shooty's era starts proper, we will no longer have that concern there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at the moment, for that big moment, the bigeneration moment, I think I didn't entirely agree with the way it was done. I think I would have preferred regenerate into Shooty and then pull David Tennant out of him or something.
Yeah.
Just so that it does feel like there's a proper handover there between actors. Because this feels a bit too much like, he's an under meta crisis doctor who goes off with Rose and stuff.
And you could have done some weird explanation, like because it's the toy maker and I'm still in the sort of the regeneration like time frame, I can insert player 2.
Yeah, I mean, is that maybe how it happened? Because they mentioned how bigeneration's meant to be a myth, but now with the rules of reality warped by the toy maker, is that how this myth is able to become a reality in this instance?
Yeah, because I think that's the whole thing. This story is about rules, with the toy maker being so dead set and never cheat. And here we go, we're breaking the rules here.
Yeah, but at the same time they're not. They're still the same person, so they can both challenge the toy maker at the same time. And he did do it, like they say. He split them somehow. But yeah, it is now the wrap up of the David Tennant mystery regeneration thing. Why did this face come back? Didn't necessarily get an answer there.
He's tired and he needs to stop.
I love that thematically though. The way that the bigeneration allows for the Doctor to now have this pause, to have this rehab, and get rid of some of that angst. That's very much what these specials are about. And I think that's how they work as 60th anniversary specials, because they are, saying that the Doctor hasn't stopped for these 60 years worth of stories. And, he's ultimately getting burned out by it. And he needs this pause to lift some of that angst off his shoulders. And with the 10th Doctor being the most angsty of them all, it makes sense for Tennant to come back now as 14 and play that version who finally gets to relieve some of that off his shoulders. And it's not just about Time War angst, it's about everything that's happened since then as well. While Donna's had that relatively calmer life, but at the same time a hectic and adventurous run raising her daughter and such, it's a different kind of adventure that she's been on. And now the Doctor gets to join her on that, which I think, again, beautiful. I love the thematic reasoning behind this. And I think that's what makes things like bigeneration work for me so much better than the whole Timeless Children arc did. Because that just felt like it was lore, quotation marks, breaking and lore dumping for no reason other than its self. Whereas this feels like, Russell's come into this with a direction to go in with the Doctor. He's got a story he wants to tell revolving around that character. And this just happened to be the best way he found to do that. And so it does work for me a lot better than I expected it was just from reading the leaks. It's unfortunate that so many leaks have happened around the 60th. But yeah, ultimately, it is what it is. And so I don't know whether it worked out for the better in the sense that I was able to...
I think mentally prepared
for it. For the possibility of it. And yeah, they do work much better in execution than simply being read off as a bullet point list. And I think that's the thing with a lot of the stuff during the Chibnall Whittaker era, was that it felt like it was being read off a bullet point list, even in the actual episodes.
Yeah.
So now I can say that I did approve of the reasoning behind it. Certainly a bit mixed on the execution of it, but it's something new, and it always takes a bit of getting used to, no matter how much advance warning you have of it.
Yeah, I just think my issue with it is I'm fine with 14 and 15 splitting. I just don't like the idea of every other Doctor splitting.
I mean, that's sort of up for debate because it's never mentioned in the actual show. And certainly, again, the rules of bigeneration or just any sort of explanation as to whether or not these are two separate Doctors, or if, what happens when 14 then regenerates again or whatever, or does he just die? Is he now human like Metacrisis Doctor? I mean, that's a no, to be fair, but yeah, like, could he have done what Donna and Rose did in the Star Beast and sort of let it go?
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, that could have worked for me as well. But at the same time, you've then got the 15th Doctor saying, you've done your rehab out of order.
Yeah.
And you've got the Doctor and Donna saying that he is the older one. But, wouldn't he be the same age because they bigenerated? They split at the same time. So evidently, maybe it's not the case that, they have split, that there are two Doctors now. It might be that there's still one Doctor, but for whatever reason, coexisting for a bit before normality is restored. Because certainly, 15th Doctor has been cleared of that. So I think he did say, it's because the 14th Doctor takes this chance to do so, and apparently there's something coming up that confirms that the 15th Doctor's TARDIS is still the same TARDIS, not a copy of it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it's stuff that gets ironed out as time goes on, and as I say, as we experience more of Ncuti, we'll just not forget about it, but similar to the Doctor's half human and the Timeless Children, we'll just tuck it away to the back of our minds and not think about it while we are watching Doctor Who go forward as much. I think is the way it's going to go.
Guess that's the review done, isn't it? The big talking point over.
Yeah, we don't have to mention any other little bits in there, is there? I mean, it's all anyone ever really cares about, bigeneration. Oh, what an episode. And that aside, I think particularly those first 40 minutes, I think
that's where it's at its strongest.
I have very few notes. I think it's the special that has the highest highs and the lowest lows.
Yeah.
But those low lows, I can't say are all that low. I mean, maybe the lowest low actually is the Isaac Newton scene from Wild Blue Yonder.
Yeah, because tonal whiplash.
Yeah. But I mean, this is able to go through so many tones, so many story beats in such a quick time space, and yet it all works brilliantly for me. Like, I don't know how Russell's done it, but certainly going into this with everything it had to do, all the things it was bringing back, it felt like, it was going to be rushed, only being an hour. It felt like it needed to be an hour and a half at least, or a two-parter or something. But no, I think Russell very effectively used this hour runtime and, kept up the pace. It probably helped that, the world going mad was introduced at the end of Wild Blue Yonder, so we're thrown straight into that.
Into the chaos, really.
Yeah, and I think we do spend enough time learning about it through Kate's spiking and those little clips of the pilot, which, I mean, that's quite dark, isn't it? That he's flown into his own house.
Yeah.
I mean, just the laugh he's doing while doing that was somewhat disturbing. And then, you got Trinity Wells back as well as
the commentary on it's so brilliant, I think.
Yeah. And it's all there that this idea of screens and such has allowed a certain, I mean, through online discourse, there is a certain anonymity there, which some people use to let out the worst of themselves through those, hate comments online. And so this is taking that and saying, what if that filter was removed in real life? That is very much what the Giggle has done. And so the idea that it's there from the very first screen to exist with the invention of television, I think that's brilliant. I love that, that is tied in there as well. And we get to go back into history, learning about Logie Baird and Stucky Bill.
Yeah, Stooky Bill.
Yeah, Stooky Bill. Yeah. And I mean, that's genuinely creepy stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I think I love the fact that Russell had that as the starting point, and then from there thought, what would be the puppet master of this puppet? It would be the toy maker. And so it's nice.
And it feels like a nice sort of throwback to what could have been the first regeneration story as well.
And it's almost a shame that they didn't use the toy maker as the reason the Doctor changed his face.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a fun line of, I was tempted to do it back then, but you didn't remember any of your previous faces, so there wouldn't have been much point.
Yeah, I'm sure that would have gone down very well.
Oh, yeah, but people would love that, but something a bit more gracefully done than what I just said, but I think it could have been a fun explanation for it, because certainly the toy maker has been up and down a Doctor's timeline, made a jigsaw of it, as he said, which is a fun way of explaining any contradictions in future now. It's like everything can be canon because the toy maker has made it so. But yeah, I think I like that there's a clear 3-act structure to it as well. Through, you go back in time, you have that section with the toy maker's domain as like Act 2, and then back to the present for the final game, which becomes Act 3.
Yeah,
I think that they get like, you've got this amazing set piece with the reintroduction of Unit and Kate, Murray Gold nailing it with the music. It's completely bombastic and really draws you in like a roller coaster, seeing the TARDIS being flown to the new Unit HQ. And I just love that. Got such high off it. The whole explanation of the Giggle, the fact that it's all set in that one unit control room, but it feels like there's a scope to it. Mel coming back within that. I mean, what did you make of Mel?
I mean, we knew she was coming back, and it's one of those things where you're kind of in disbelief that, okay, we're doing it, we're doing this. And I think that the quiet moments they had were nice, but yeah, I can't say it was like, I'm really pleased to see you back.
I mean, it's all like set up for the future as well.
Yeah.
Which I think helps, because the whole weight of Mel coming back isn't on this one special alongside everything else going on.
Yeah.
Instead, she just gets to be there, but also, again, serve that thematic relevance of bringing to the forefront the idea of the Doctor never stops to talk about his old friends. But I like that compared to Sarah Jane, this was a much less angst-ridden reunion.
Yeah.
And it's straight away, it's like, oh, hello, you. There's something wonderful about the performance between those two. And again, Tennant works so well at embodying the Doctors in that instant. You don't really question the fact that this wasn't one of Mel's Doctors. And it probably helps by the fact that
he's a fan.
She wasn't much of a character to begin with anyway. And two, that she did travel with 2 separate Doctors. So
I feel like the character work done for Mel within this is probably the best she's had aside from Big Finish.
Yeah. I mean, Bonnie Langford's mentioned herself that, she's actually at a keyboard now. She's a supposed computer genius and yet never went near a single computer. Whereas here we actually get to see her do that. Which, I mean, yeah, about time, I suppose.
I mean, it's definitely setting up the Unit rumoured spin-off, isn't it? But the
I
pieces
mean,
are all coming together with like the links and stuff being like the new Mr. Smith.
oh, I love the links. The fact that it's just there without any real
Yeah.
explanation, but it works. And I mean, yeah, we know that Unit are coming back a couple of times in the future. So it's nice to have that set up of, I suppose, this new Unit family here of Mel, Kate, and almost called a Hebe, Shirley.
Yeah, Shirley's great. She continues to be an absolute gem.
Yeah, I mean, I love those lines where Donna says, parked offensive, and she's like, borderline. Yeah, I think there's fun to be had there with the dynamic between those two. And I mean, apparently Donna might now be part of Unit. I don't think we'll see her back just yet, though, in that role.
No.
Yeah. But certainly, I'm intrigued to see where things go with Mel in the future. It's nice that she does get a decent chunk to do in this episode.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I say, the weight of her coming back isn't placed entirely on this, because we know that it's just reintroducing her for more of that work to be done later alongside the 15th Doctor. And then the toy maker himself, played by Neil Patrick Harris. What did you make of that character's inclusion in this?
I loved it. I think that the toy maker probably works better in a 21st century world with so many games being played, like ghosting, mind games, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's just a brilliant sort of creation who probably benefits for 21st century.
It's a wonderful evolution of
Yeah.
the character from where he first started. And the fact that now with, you know, Doctor Who's current budget and more modern special effects, you do get to play more tricks with reality on him than they were able to get away with in the 60s for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderfully done.
Like the attack on Unit with the soldiers becoming balls, like that, and seeing their faces was great. The bullets being, you know, petals.
Yeah, him just coming out of so many doors and stuff, you know, that whole reality warping stuff, I think really made for a terrifying and effective villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the fact that, you know, he doesn't necessarily want anything other than to play these games is what makes him quite terrifying and quite formidable, because he does have the power to destroy everything on a whim if he really wants to. Like, he goes on that whole monologue about turning universes into spinning tops. You know, he is a terrifying threat that I think is sold really well throughout the build-up in this story. Like that first scene where the Doctor and Donna run into him and, you know, he recognizes him. That's all very effectively done. And then when the Doctor's reaction when they get trapped in his world, this idea that, you know, he's now taking away the toys, what's left with the Doctor.
I think there's a lot of angst with Tennant within this. I think that, I don't want to say it's out of character, but you can tell that it was pushing 14 in a very different place there where he's been.
Yeah, it's all boiling to the surface, really, isn't it? It has been sort of the thematic thread across this trilogy of stories. And now it's sort of like saying why he needs to take this break, really. Yeah, I mean, the whole scene with the puppet, I thought I was clever. Like, that's very creepy. And then the Stooky Babbies.
Yes, and Stooky Sue.
Yeah. Just her coming out of the dark. That is genuinely terrifying stuff. And it's nice to have an anniversary story that can highlight the more horror aspects of Who than I think has been done before. Because the anniversaries tend to be more feel-good fun affairs. And this has got that as well. But it can also go to some creepy places too.
Like, we thought sort of Wild Blue Yonder was creepy, but I think Wild Blue Yonder is sort of unnerving. This is downright creepy, like classic horror.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the little rhymes he's singing as well, Stooky Sue,
Yeah.
about, my hubby's not coming home because they burnt him on TV. Like, that's quite creepy. And all set up earlier on as well when the toy maker's going on about how, you're leaving the family behind. Yeah, that leads to some wonderful stuff. And then following that, you get the toy maker showing the puppets of Amy, Clara, and Bill. Which, I mean, yeah, it's
a great way of acknowledging the past.
Yeah, but it's an anniversary feel, but with thematic meaning. You're not just name dropping these characters for the fun of it. It's sort of catching up Donna and also reminding the Doctor of what he's been through since they were last together. And yeah, the idea that the Doctor does need this pause now, I think wonderfully set up there. And it's just nice seeing these things done in a very different way, and seeing Russell poke fun at some of his successors' eras in a way.
Yeah,
like with the toy maker's just weird look when he said, "And she was killed by a bird." It just it points to the absurdity of Doctor Who, but part of the way it works as well. Because when you sum up like that, she did get killed by a bird, but obviously we know there's more to that. But yeah, it's just wonderfully done, and I think it did it all so well. Then when the toy maker's domain collapses in on itself, that was very well executed in terms of special effects. I mean, one thing I will say for this story is that it doesn't feel like Donna has too much to do in the climax of it. Like, it's almost a shame that
I feel like she's a bit out of character within it as well.
I did not like the "do you come in a range of colours" line.
Yeah,
I think that was a bit of a weird one from Russell.
Yeah, and especially when you've got a special toy maker who's got quite a checkered history.
Yeah,
with what they were going for, and to sort of have that, and you're like, no, we're progressive now.
Yeah,
it kind of sends the wrong message.
It's I think particularly coming from Donna as well. Yeah, it does. I think it's important to acknowledge that the Doctor is black now, and that that will play a part in future stories. Like, that has very much been part of Shooty's interviews recently, hasn't it? He's like, the Doctor is effing black, deal with it. And I think that's definitely it's not gonna be glossed over like when the Doctor became a woman with Jodie Whittaker. This feels like they are actually making use of that, which I'm all for. But never that line sort of jars a bit with that at the same time. I think it's important to, use the fact that the Doctor's black now, but to literally just have Donna being the one saying it, particularly in a dodgy way, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I am not too on board with that line, but again, it's just one line. But yeah, I'd have maybe just cut that out. Yeah. But again, like I've said the past 2 weeks, a lot of my issues come down to minor tweaks in order to fix them.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one may be stretching out a little bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly I'm still on board as a whole, way more than I ever have been for the past probably decade at this point, really. Which I'm so happy about. It is nice to be sitting down just enjoying Doctor Who again, being on the edge of my seat during so many of these scenes, particularly in the middle, the Stooky Babbies and such. Yeah, really enjoyed all that. What about the game of catch at the end?
It just felt a bit anticlimactic.
I've come around on it a bit thematically in the sense that, the Doctor originally trying to outwit the toy maker, how he won the first time, and the whole salt at the edge of the universe thing. I thought I was clever.
Jodie let the toy maker in by going, tag, you're it.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the fact that the Doctor wins not by being clever, but just by being skilled at a game.
Yeah.
I quite like that it's a game like that, a game where he doesn't use his wits for a change, because, the whole build up to this, the whole reason Toymaker is here is because the Doctor was being clever, was trying to outwit enemies and stuff. And so I appreciate that on rewatch a lot more. But yeah, I can at the same time see why it's a bit anticlimactic. But yeah, it's certainly setting up some other stuff as well, though. The Master as a tooth. I mean,
yeah,
a fun little callback to the ring in the Last of the Time Lords as well in that moment. Like, I wonder where that's going. We've got the whole tease of his legions and the one who waits as well. So it's certainly. I mean, yeah, Grade's barbershop next door to Mr. Emporium. That was a rather entertaining little Easter egg, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, I think someone said the Doctor's two worst enemies have set up shop next to each other. But, I mean, the hyping up of the Toymaker as well within this, as this...
It built that tension and fear factor. Like, when you got to it, you're like, this is where stuff goes down. Like, the clocking of each other when you get the beautiful recolorization of the Toymaker.
Yeah.
That's lovely. And then sort of the Doctor talking about, like, statistically, I'm bound to lose this one.
Yeah. I love
that. And
the
game having no memory. Like, that was all brilliant.
Yeah. And a nice little Jeffrey Noble reference as well for Donna's final episode. Yeah. And the Doctor's reaction, I like that. But yeah, I think that's nice. And again, it does come down to the episode all being about these games as well, doesn't it? That we all play. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have Doctor Who being so thematically rich again. Even if maybe the waters are a bit muddied towards the end, the bigeneration and everything that happens after that.
Yeah.
I nevertheless really enjoyed the Giggle, particularly those first 40 minutes. But even then, like, after that on rewatch, once I've got over the shock of it, I can't say I was that upset by it. And I was still, that momentum still carried me through. I was still very much enjoying it. And enjoying Doctor Who way more than I have for a very long time. So,
for me, the ending just really soured it for me. Not the actual bigenerate. It's just that we're just gonna park the Doctor up here now, and like don't. That's not who he is. And the idea of the ending just becoming a sort of a Tesco advert of them all round a table, and you're like, no.
It feels very much something like out of an American show.
Yeah.
Like having dinner in a sunny garden. It's not something that British people don't do.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel... It feels a bit weird to see on British TV, particularly while we're sitting here in the middle of December, even.
And it's like, I've never been happier. Like, Amy and Rory invited you for Christmas dinner. You've had plenty of time to stop. Like, it just infuriates me. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't like that bit.
It's a shame. But yeah, at least now we've got angst-free Doctor going forward, presumably. I mean, for how long, you never know. But I like that Russell seems to be moving away from post-regeneration stories.
Yeah, I like that.
Because we didn't have that with Star Beast, and we didn't really have any post-regeneration trauma with the Giggle here. And it looks like Churchill and Ruby Road is going to be set a little bit later in his life anyway. So, yeah. And I think that helps that to become more of a full-on soft reboot. And yeah, I think it's a similar way in which the 50th is about looking back and then looking forward. This is sort of like a way of having a bit of a pause there for the Doctor in his life before moving forward into the future.
The Giggle's like an ending and a beginning all at once, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's unfortunate the implication from that could be taken that it's an ending because this is the end of the Doctor we've known from the first Doctor to the 14th Doctor, and now it's an offshoot Doctor taking up the keys, which
I don't like that sort of message that people can read into.
Yeah, it's because it's definitely not the intention.
No.
But nevertheless,
I love Shooty, but I can't say that I was wanting to go off with him on his adventures. I was like, I maybe because I'm more invested in the Tennant story. I don't know, but
I think it's partially because as well, Shooty was the secondary Doctor.
Yeah,
when that happened, like it was still very much focused on Tennant. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I think once we get into Shooty Gatwa's era proper, it'll all just sort of slip away. We'll gladly accept him as the Doctor, and we'll sort of just tuck it away into the back of our minds, those events. Because we've done it before, like I say, so many times. Half human, timeless child. It all just sort of gets tucked away there, and we just enjoy the here and now, really.
Yeah.
Which, I'm looking forward to the what's to come. But that's another video.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, Wilf was the shooting moles thing. I'm not a fan of.
But he's a character who didn't want to fight in World War II, didn't want to fire a gun, but there you've got him shooting mole. Yeah, see, it's another thing. It just didn't work.
It's just like, he's not a bloody Tory.
No, it doesn't work for him.
Okay. I'm also not sure about the execution of cutting around him the line from The Poison Sky, if you go with the Doctor, to get around the fact that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
I think, I'd have preferred it if we saw them run towards the TARDIS. I'd have preferred if he was put into the TARDIS. You just get a line.
Or you just had the Doctor and Donna going, dropped him off. Let's find out what's going on.
I mean, I think it's important to pick up where it left off.
Yeah.
But I think, you could have Donna say Gramps is safe in the TARDIS. And then after the TARDIS gets taken to Unit HQ, they escort him out and get him somewhere, not like anywhere safer than the TARDIS. Yeah. But, I don't know. Just the way that was done, not the best, but I don't envy them having to come up with a way around that. Because it's a sad necessity, really. But, I'd rather have what we have and keep the Wild Blue Yonder ending than lose the Wild Blue Yonder ending just so that we don't have to worry about awkwardness in this episode.
Yeah.
I think I'm very glad that we did get that little bit with Bernard Cribbins. He's wonderful. But, I mean, anything more to say about the Giggle?
It was all right. It's okay. Yeah.
What would you rate it then?
I'd say 7.
Ooh. I think I'm going to go 8.5.
Okay, nice.
I mean, I was tempted by 9, but I didn't know.
I think I need to rewatch it because I've only watched it once.
Yeah, I've gone on it twice, and I think it's definitely improved for me. So I'd recommend that to you and to anyone else who's more on the fence about it. So I think particularly those first 40 minutes, 10 out of 10,
yeah,
I would
perfect.
say. So there we are at the end of the 60th anniversary special. Yeah, we've waited 13 months for them. And now,
for the most part, worth it, I'd say.
I would say so, definitely. And I'm looking forward to where we go next, really. But leave all your thoughts on the Giggle and the bigeneration, because I know you want to talk about it. I know you've got things to say. We're Doctor Who fans.
We always got things to say.
Yeah, we've all got our opinions. Please leave them in a positive manner. Don't go sending hate
Respectful, I
anyone's way. Don't let the giggle get into your brain and drive you mad. And we'll see you again with another video. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed. If not, I'm very sorry. But you're probably not. If you're still watching at this point, I hope that you've enjoyed. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.